Welcome to Boys in the Hood TV. Today we're going to be discussing the life of the notorious Big Crazy D from the A-Tray Gangster Crips. Now Crazy D, born Deotree Denard in 1963 in South Central California. He'll grow up on 81st Street in the Manchester Square section. Now by his teen years, the formation of the A-Tray Gangster Crips would take place in this area. Now the A-Tray's main section will start on 83rd Street and extend to Gage Avenue to 79th between Western and Normandy. Now Denard, by his teen years, he would get put on to the A-Tray Gangsters. Now Denard was said to be wild and reckless and a known risk taker. Now his reckless behavior would lead to his homies calling him Crazy D. Now around 1976, the A-Trays were already making a name for themselves throughout South Central LA, which involved fightings and robberies. Now around 1978, a 15-year-old Crazy D, while walking down the street, would meet another A-Tray gangster member by the name of Monster Tip, aka Monster Kody. Now after Trey Ball went to jail, both Crazy D and Monster will become close friends and start causing chaos in the streets of LA. Now the A-Trays were known to congregate heavily from time to time at St. Andrews Park when it came to business, but other times they would be seen hanging out at the White Apartments or another main hangout, which was a spot on 71st Street where most of the A-Trays could be found at. Now at the time, the A-Trays had nearly 75 members, but built up a very vicious reputation throughout the hood. Now what really drew Crazy D and Monster close together was that same thirst for building up that daily reputation as a gang member and being feared in the streets. Now by late 1978, Crazy D and Monster and a few Rollin 60 Crips were headed to the Rosecrans skating rink. Now neither Crazy D or Monster brought their pistol with them due to the tight security at the skate rink ever since the Inglewood families had shot up the building. Now once they made it near Manchester and Grand Mercy Place, shots would start ringing out. Big Crazy D would spot one of their homeboys from A-Tray running past them, leaving a burger joint while holding a 12 gauge. Now that member would tell Crazy D and Kody to run because they just shot at some Inglewood families inside that burger joint. But Crazy and Monster would ignore this warning until a few moments later, when two cars full of Inglewood family members would come driving in their direction. Crazy D and Monster took off running and would hide behind a gym building. Now the Inglewood families would drive up and down the street, going down alleyways to search for them, but after a while, they would just take off and leave. Now both Crazy D and Monster would head back to the hood, but as they walked down Western and Manchester, the Inglewood families would pull back up. Crazy and Kody would run inside a surplus store to hide, but the Inglewood families would follow right behind them. Now, as Monster Kody ran and hid, Crazy D was trapped by the Inglewood family bloods, who would start to beat him with wooden axe handles repeatedly. Now, eventually, Monster Kody would come out of hiding, but he would start getting beat down too. Now, after they got done being beat on, the Inglewood families would flee the scene as the police pulled up. Now, once the police would arrive, they would handcuff both Crazy D and Kody, and also the two members from the Rollin 60s who were there with them. But Kody would be arrested in connection with the shooting at the burger shop. Now, not long after Monster Kody's arrest, Crazy D would also be arrested and be sent to YA after having a few run-ins with the law. But by 1979, the A-Trays were no longer at war with only the Bloods, but now they were at war with their former allies, the Rollin 60s.
Friday, homies, head up. Fatty started fighting with Tyrone. Boo, bad, boo, bad, 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 boo. Fool named Daryl Oaks, the hood just recruited. He was originally from 9-0. Went around the corner, got the strap. The homie, he thought it was something more serious than just a fisticuff. Fool come back with the heat, tell Fatty move, dump, boom, boom. Kill Tyrone, shoot him in the head and the chest. Shoot Bogart, boom, from the 60s in the stomach. Rest of them break. We all break too, like, damn, man, what you tripping on?
Now from this point on, all hell would break loose, which include back and forth shootings between the 60s and the A-Trays, which would become a regular occurrence, with bodies dropping from left to right. Now that same year, the third generation of A-Trays would emerge, like Lil Monster and Lil Crazy D. Now with these newer homies, the hood would get bigger and become much more a threat to any rivals like the Rollin 60s. But by December, Big Crazy D would be released back onto the streets, and he would link back up with Monster, and he would be frontlining it with the war between the A-Trays and the Rollin 60s. Now one day while walking down the street, Kody and Crazy D would get shot at by a group of Rollin 60s. And from that point on, Crazy D would make a pact with Monster Kody that they wouldn't stop until all their enemies was put in the grave. And Big Crazy D would tell Kody, wherever we catch him, it's on. Now by the 80s, Crazy D's violent reputation would only get bigger, and this activity would lead to him being arrested for the murder of a Rollin 60s Crip. Now because he was still a minor, he would be sent to juvie. Now while there, D would have multiple altercations with members from the Rollin 60s. But sometime later, Monster Kody will also be arrested and will be transferred to juvie and put in the same unit as Crazy D. Now eventually, due to lack of evidence, the DA will be forced to drop Crazy D's case and he will be back on the block some odd months later. Now by 1981, both Crazy D and Monster Kody will be arrested on armed robbery charges. They were being accused of robbing a man on 84th and Western and jacking him for his money and his shoes. Now Crazy D, because he was 18 at the time, will be sent to county. And Monster Kody will be sent to juvie because he was still 17. Now both Crazy D and Monster Kody will be found guilty, and Crazy D will be sentenced to 5 years in prison, and Monster Kody will get 4 years. Now after serving his time, by 1985, Crazy D was released from prison. But the landscaping of the hood had changed at this point, and crack and PCP had swept through all of Los Angeles, and the drug game was an open market for anybody to hop in and make some real money. And Crazy D would dive headfirst into the dope game. He and a few homies from the 8 Trays would start pulling in a lot of money. Now, as time went on, they wanted to step up in the game, so they wanted to start looking into buying kilos of coke. Now, in May of 1988, Crazy D and his homie John Porter from the 8 Trays would arrange to have a meeting to buy dope from a neighborhood Crip named BJ Bates. Now, BJ was infamous in the streets, known for jacking and scamming people, but he was known to get his money, and he was a known hustler out in the streets. Now, a woman named Kelly Timmons would be in control of this entire transaction between BJ and the 8 Trays. Now, it was set up for Crazy D to buy a key of cocaine for $14,000. So Crazy D and Porter would meet up with Kelly Timmons, who would handle the entire transaction. Now, they would give her $14,000, and afterwards she would take the money back to BJ, who in exchange would give her a kilo of cocaine. Now, once she arrived back to meet up with Crazy D and Porter, she would give them the kilo of cocaine. Now, after the transaction was done, Timmons would start walking outside, but Crazy D realized the coke wasn't coke, but it was baking flour. So immediately Crazy D ran outside with his pistol, forcing Kelly Timmons back into the house and demanding the money. Now, while being held at gunpoint, Kelly Timmons would immediately call her brother Rollin to tell him about what was going on and demand that he get that money back from BJ. But in the midst of the drama, Crazy D would call over other 8 Tray members like Dayon Lively and Vincent Burks. Now, eventually, Timmons would give the 8 Trays info on the Bates family and where they lived at. So the 8 Trays would get suited and booted, getting their guns and masks and gloves on, and they would leave Timmons to be held hostage by another female at the house while they went out to look for BJ from neighborhood Crip. Now, after driving around, they couldn't find BJ, so they decided to target his sister named Nina Bates, who drove a red 1988 Hyundai and stayed off on 46th Street. Now, while driving, the 8 Trays would approach 45th and St. Andrews, and they would spot a red car parked nearby. Now, that red car was a 1988 Pontiac llings, but inside was 2 teenage girls, 18-year-old LaToya Stover and her friend, 13-year-old Jamie Finney. Now, both girls had just left Hungry Heroes to get a burger and were on their way back home. Now, Crazy D and the 8 Trays assumed this was Nina Bates and decided to follow the girls. Now, after driving a short distance, the 8 Trays began to chase the car, and they would ram into the side of the girl's car. Crazy D and the 8 Trays would hop out and open the back of the Pontiac llings hatchback and open fire. Both girls were hit over 10 times with multiple rounds from a Uzi and a handgun, killing them instantly. Now, afterwards, the 8 Trays hopped back into the car, and as they drove off, they would let off more shots. Witnesses would immediately call 911, and the EMTs would arrive moments later.
It was a case of mistaken identity. Gang members were out gunning for the sister of an enemy drug dealer who drives a red car. Jamie and her girlfriend were in a red car that night.
Just laying there, her head was kind of slumped to the side, and I could see the red. She had a white blouse on, and I could see the red on her blouse.
Bullet wounds?
Blood. It was blood. I was in the kitchen, and I heard the screaming. Please, Lord, don't let this be Jamie. Just anybody but Jamie, please,
Now, afterwards, Crazy D would brag about executing both of the girls to his homies. The 8 Trays would eventually release Kelly Timmons. Now, once released, Timmons would call 911 to tell him about the kidnapping and the murder of the females. Not only weeks later, police would identify all the A-Tray gangsters involved and begin surveilling them. Eventually, 6 members will be arrested for the murders: 20-year-old Dayon Lively, 25-year-old Crazy D, 27-year-old Lindell Jackson, and 23-year-old John Porter, and a 19-year-old Meredith Carter. Now, during the trial, witnesses would come forward, including Kelly Timmons, who was kidnapped. Now, by the end of the trial, all the A-Tray members will be found guilty. Now, during their sentencing, Crazy D and the A-Trays will be seen smiling and laughing. Now, ultimately, Crazy D, along with the other A-Tray members, all will be sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Now, as of today, Crazy D is 63 years old and serving out his life sentence at Wild's State Penitentiary. I would like to thank everybody for tapping in, and I'll see y'all next time.